Okay, so again, let's talk about arc measure. So the measure of an arc, and the way we write that, for example, is if we wanted the measure of arc EB, is we put a little m in front for measure, then we put the name of the arc, and again, the little curved line over the top tells us we're talking about an arc and not a line segment. Okay, notice it's got the curve on it. The measure of an arc is equal to the measure of its central angle. Now, when we say central angle, we mean an angle that starts at the center of the circle. Its vertex is there. So see, we have two central angles here. This one is a 43-degree angle, and this one is 52. This is the angle measure, but it's also the measure of the arc made up by that angle. So you see how the angle comes out and kind of bites into the circle. It cuts out a chunk, which is what we call our arc. And again, the measure of our angle in here is the same as the measure of our arc. That's if your angle is coming from the center. Later we'll work with inscribed angles and they'll be a little bit different. Okay, so again over here, this angle coming from A cuts out and makes this arc from C to D. Okay, that's the arc from C to D. And we can say the measure of arc CD is the same as the angle it comes from. Its arc measure is 52 degrees. And again, EB's arc measure was 43 degrees. All right, here is an example. If QT and RU are diameters, okay, they have to tell us that so we can be certain that from R to U is halfway around the circle. Find the measure of each arc. Find the measure of arc QR. Okay, so here is arc QR. Now this was supposed to be really easy. Okay, arc starting at Q going to R. It was supposed to be really easy because we're supposed to be able to look and see, well, whatever this angle measure is, that's our arc measure. Problem is it's not labeled. However, we've been studying geometry for a while and hopefully we remember that when we have two lines that intersect, like we do here, see how we have these lines intersecting here? We have angles across from one another. Those are called a pair of vertical angles. And we know that vertical angles are congruent. So if that one was 42, that makes this angle 42, which makes our arc 42 degrees also. So the measure of arc QR is 42 degrees. All right, next they want the measure of RS. How are we going to figure out RS? So again, this was supposed to be easy because the arc starting at R, ending at S, going the short way because they didn't give us a third letter. If they wanted us to go the long way around the circle, they would have mentioned another letter. But they want us to go the short way because they just did R to S. Okay, it's supposed to be easy. The measure of this arc is supposed to be the measure of the angle that it's coming from in here in the center of the circle. Problem is, once again, that's not labeled. However, we do know that QT is a diameter, which means it's a straight line that makes up half of the circle, and half of the circle is 180 degrees. So we know that this angle is 42, we know this is 61, whatever this angle is, when we add them all up, they should be 180. So we know that our missing angle, X, plus 42 and 61, altogether those should be 180 degrees, and we can figure out what ours is. If we add the 42 and the 61 together, that gives us 103. Okay, so we have X plus 103 is 180. All right, so our missing angle, again, it's whatever you have to add to 103 to get 180, because we already had 103 degrees of our half circle, and our missing angle is the part that's left. So if we just take 180 minus the 103 we already had, we get 77. Okay, so here we have our central angle is 77 degrees, which makes our arc 77 degrees. So sometimes you have to do a little extra work. It's supposed to be easy, but sometimes you have to do a little extra to find it. All right, and finally QU. Again, they said QU, no extra. If there's 3 letters, you go the long way around the circle. If there's just 2, you go the shortest distance possible to get from Q to U. So our arc QU is going to start at Q, go the short direction. Notice the other way is really far to get from Q to U. Again, supposed to be easy. This should be our arc length, should be the measure of this angle, which is not labeled. However, we now know the measure of all of the other angles around the circle. We have a 42, a 77, a 61, a 42, and this missing angle right here. All together, those should make up a full circle. So similar to what we did on RS, we're going to do the same type of thing, only this time we're dealing with a full circle with only one angle missing. How many degrees are in a full circle? Hopefully you said 360. So our angle, we'll call it X, plus the other angles, the 42 and the 77 degree angle and the 61 degree angle and the 42, one more 42 degree angle. Altogether, those should add up to be 360 degrees. We need to total the rest. Okay, so let's total the ones we know so that we know how many degrees we have covered so far. And when I add 42, 77, 61, and 42, I get 222. So far I have 222 out of the 360 degrees in a circle. I just need to find out, well then, how much is left? If I have 222, what's left over? So I take 360 minus 222. And I find that there's 138 degrees left to make up this portion of the circle. So my angle here is 138, which means my arc QU, which was again the only remaining part of the arc left, is also 138. So again, TS, if they asked for TS, its measure, easy enough. They gave us that angle would be 61. If they asked for UT, its measure would be 42. Okay, you just go out from the center of the circle. Problem only comes up if they don't give you all the information you needed.